Dr. Buri.
A pleasant good evening. We are here on the Relationship and Marriage Hour, which is hosted by Dr. Alvin Hepburn Snr and yours truly, Dr. Marie MacDonald. And we are so pleased to have Chaplain Natalie Sweeten with us. And our topic this evening is dealing with divorce in marriage. And we know that in marriage, there are some certain things that causes persons to consider divorce. And matter of fact, there are three items that I can recall, 3 to 4 items that I can recall causes persons to want to divorce their spouse. And one of them is money. Money, then the other is sex. And of course, it's interference by parents. And those are some of the main area, or it could be neglect from either of the spouse. So we find that persons consider divorce for various reasons, but mainly those four. However, I believe that in a relationship, while there may be some relationship that divorce may be the best option, for those relationships that are healthy per se, and the situations are not too far fetched, I believe those persons can work out and try to save the marriage as opposed to seeking divorce. Because I also always look at the fact that, sometimes when you go through divorce, you're hoping that you find a better relationship when in fact you didn't try to fix the one that you're in. So when you go into another relationship without trying to fix that one, you may go with the same baggage, and then you find the same problem, and then you find some persons having to be married 3 and 4 times because they haven't dealt with the situation. So this afternoon we want to share about how we can avoid the divorce if at all possible. So Dr. Alvin, um, um, maybe you can kick us off with this. What is your thought on trying to save a marriage as opposed to going into a divorce?
Okay, good day to all. And yes, what a provocative topic we have today. And boy, this is one that some churches and some people don't want to even address. Um, but we will be addressing it full steam ahead today. Divorce. That's that nasty and dirty word, divorce. Um, my view and my shaping of of this topic comes from um, my biblical background. So excuse me today because that's where my framework will be coming from. Is a biblical view on divorce. When I think of divorce, and I think Miles Monroe, I listened to him years ago preach a sermon, and he outlined it in such a way that encapsulated what I think. Um, he said it this way: divorce is worse than death because if a spouse had died, at least you know that there is closure. You've taken that person to a cemetery and you've buried them, or you've cremated them, you have their ashes and stuff. But divorce, which is also a tearing of two souls, because in marriage, it is a joining together of two persons to become one. Well, divorce then is splitting that one that you could get back to. And that happens only twice in a relationship. It happens with death, what happens in divorce. What makes divorce worse than death is that the person that you have split yourself away from is still living, so you can still see them walking around. You can still see them doing what they're just going on with their life. And what even makes it even worse for some persons is it looks like they are happier with somebody else than they were with you. And that can be a painful experience. And then those who engage in divorce go through this emotional roller coaster ride on why couldn't I make it work? Is there was the failure on my side? What could I have done different? Because I don't think any two person really enters a marriage saying, boy, I can get what I could get, then I get out of this. When we enter marriage for the long haul. And most of us, when we say our vows, we mean them until death us do part. So to have that physical death of divorce, but the person is still alive, is rough. My framework, though, Doc, is that even though people are getting divorced for all kind of reasons, such as what you've mentioned, because of financial situation, um, irreconcilable differences is one of the word clause that they or the legal jargon that they use, um, or for the person stepping out on them. Biblically, there is only one one reason that Jesus and God permits divorce, and that's where I stand even today. And that reason is for infidelity. And then that's a whole different thing that we can talk about, um, which will then lead to the sexual component, because many people, Doc, feels that sex is just a physical act. But I believe that um, sex is more spiritual than it is physical.
Hmm.
If you, on Alvin's scale, the physical is only about 30% of the whole act itself. Um, and it's more 70% spiritual. And that's you joining yourself with another individual. But that's a whole different kettle of fish, we say here in the Bahamas. So when I think about divorce, and people come to me for counseling and ask me, help us be, because we're going down that road of divorce. The first thing that comes to me is how can I help them to avoid divorce? Because I agree with Dr. Miles Monroe's statement that divorce is worse than death of a spouse. And that's my 5 cents for right now. We'll get into it more later, I guess, in the hour.
Yes, very good point. And we're going to go right into Chaplain Sweden. Give us your thought on divorce and marriage. You know.
Well, even as Dr. Hepburn said, I'm also, with my biblical point of view, even in the Bible, it says Jesus hates divorce. You know, God hates divorce. So that there is that when it happens, it's so much persons getting hurt. You know, if you have children, their children get hurt. You know, the persons themselves who are getting the divorce get hurt. So it's not a good thing to happen, but then sometimes some things you can't avoid from happening, you know. But what I want to just point out that if it do happens to you, there is still hope. There is hope, but then you try every avenue that you can try not for it to happen. And if we go into marriage biblically, that means we'll always seek God first. But some persons are not, connected to God when they go into the marriage, so they don't know how to seek God first. So that's where we come in, and as Dr. Hepburn said, that counseling is plays a very big part in marriage.
You said a word there just now, trying. There are sometimes in relationship, a person may say, okay, this is what I had laid on the table before we got married. The minute I find this out in our relationship, it's over. No trying. Then you may have persons who may have tried maybe twice, three times, and they're ready to give in. It seems as though persons do not have the patience to endure. How how can you help a person that is not really haven't even tried? Because two or three times may not be sufficient. Um, when the first mistake comes up, then they want out of the marriage. How can you help those persons that just want to give up? Because regardless of what persons go through, I believe that if we can sit and talk, if we can, oftentimes we hear the phrase, put the shoe on the other foot. Sometimes we just look at the person and we judge them and we pull them right down. But if we haven't tried, we don't know if it can work. So how can we help persons that are giving up on the second go of problems? And some of them who are just the person made the first mistake and they want out of the marriage. How can we fix that? And one of the things that is normally used is if he raises his hand at me for the first time, it's over. That is one of the main things you would find in relationships. How can we help persons in such case?
Do you want me to go first with that, or that's to
It's open to both.
uh, Pastor Speeding? You want to go first, or you want me to take a stab at it?
If you want to, you can go, Dr.
Okay.
Hepburn.
I am going to go left, then come back right. Are you ready for my going left, Dr. MacDonald?
Let's get it.
Um, Boy, what you just described, I think, is a generational issue when we deal with this Gen X and Gen Z or Gen Y. Um, what we call commitment, they lack. And what do I mean by that? You and I would get a job, work that job for 30 years, and put all of our sweat and tear in that one job. For most of us in our generation, we may have had about 2 or 3 jobs at max. This new generation, every month they'll have a different job.
Mhm.
And they see nothing wrong with that. Even in our churches now, you look at this generation too hard, they pick up and they leave your church and they go someplace else because they ain't got time for that. When I counsel persons, because I have married persons who are way older than I am, and you know what their cry is? Dr. MacDonald, I married this couple who were together for some 20 years as boyfriend, girlfriend in a relationship. They're living together, they have grandchildren together. And I asked them, what took y'all so long? And the lady looked at me and say, ask him. And you know what his response was to me? Because when I get married, it's for life. And I have to make sure that this it. I'm like, after 20 years of you living with this woman, all of that type stuff, you ain't
And you don't
sure
know
yet? Because in
something
his
wrong.
head, once he ties himself to this person, that's it. But as
Yes,
long as they're just boyfriend, girlfriend, he can pick up and leave whenever. So
yes.
he still have this sense of freedom. This generation, when I counsel them, it is, oh, if things don't work out, I just leave.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if we have boy, and this is here we go again, another conversation. I don't know if this is a fault on our generation because we have removed the struggle out of life
Mm. Wow.
for this generation, that they feel like when they struggle, that means it's time to get out.
Mm.
Whereas
Very good
struggle
point.
is what builds us.
Wow.
I was talking just to my mother-in-law today because now I'm in Exuma where she's from, and she was showing me the places that she had to walk, where my children are sitting in the car and we driving, and they're like, why are we driving so long? And my
Mm.
mother-in-law is saying, I had to tote a bundle of firewood on my head this whole distance,
Wow.
and that was growing up for them. So where she had the endurance, my children are complete in the car ride. Why this ride so long?
Very
Yes,
interesting. Wow.
So
That's a
could it
good piece.
be that divorce is on the rise because we have removed the struggle out of
Mm.
life for our children, that they don't have the stickability or the know what how to say, listen, I ain't getting out of this. I didn't commit to this, and I'm going to go full force. And I know there's going to be good days, and I know there's going to be bad days, but I'm still going to make it work.
Wow. That's powerful. That's powerful.
yeah,
And is why parents need to be careful what they are training or giving to their instilling in their
Oh,
children.
yeah,
thank you very
Wow.
much.
Because if we make it easy for them, then there should be no struggle in my life. That's all they're saying. So therefore, when before it even happens, they are going to tell that spouse, that other person, look, if you do this, I'm not putting up with it. And you know what? They mean it. So when trouble comes, they're gone. But
yes,
we need that commitment. We need to instill in them what it means to be committed. Wow, that's powerful. What is your thought,
yes,
Chaplain Sweetie?
yes, it is. I agree with Dr. Hepburn also on that with what we did with our children is because we didn't want them to feel some of the things what we felt, we tried to make it easier for them.
That's it.
Instead of, instilling in them that, listen to me, this is the way it should be, go this way, you know. But with me, even with me this being my second marriage, and I was divorced before, and I could say that now, but before I couldn't say that out bold because I wouldn't want nobody to know, you know. But I prayed and asked God not to allow none of my immediate family to have to go through the same thing what I went through. And I wouldn't want no one. I wouldn't want this on nobody because, like we said earlier, it is not an easy thing to go through. So, and just try every avenue. And one of the main avenues that persons can try not to go through divorce is communication. Have an open communication because sometimes when you keep things from each other, that also can bring up things that that misunderstood by each other. So open communication, I think, is one of the main keys for not getting into divorce.
Wow. So you were speaking, Chaplain, from an experience.
Yeah,
So
I'm speaking from an experience.
yeah. So with communication being one of the main things to help that relationship, how do you think, because usually when two persons are heated, no one is listening, no one wants to back down. How do you think we can help them? Because the only way you can show them or help them with anything is they both have to now acknowledge, look, I know I did wrong. But usually when there's situation, it's not
Like,
easy. You may find one person is giving in and the other person is not. But I really believe that communication is key. Communication is key. And like I say, put the shoe on the other foot. If you are the victim, now try reversing that. You become, the one that is being wronged. I mean, who's doing the wrong, and see how it feels. I think that is one way of helping persons to understand, if this how I feel because I'm going through it, then with the other person, then we can sort of come reach a compromise, Dr. Alvin. So that is
Yes, we
why
could.
we have to communicate. And let's look at some of the problems that causes breakdown, Dr. Alvin. When we think about money, how can money really cause one to get a divorce? You
Yes.
know,
When we think about money, boy, that is one of the leading factors of the divorce. Let me give you a case in point. Just yesterday, I was on one of the keys here in Exuma, and I was walking around Dock and Pastor Speeding, and seeing how someone bought this key and how they have developed it and the things that they have in it. And I looked at a cousin of mine that was walking with me, and I say, boy, being poor is not a sin, but it sure is very inconvenient.
I agree.
Um, Having money helps you, but how do I want to say this? It should not be the driving force of anything in a relationship. Because then when you look at things, though, the people in the relationship only want, sorry, I shouldn't say only, for the most part, want money to get more things. When they get more things, they are happy or satisfied for a moment, and then they want more money to get more things because they didn't lose satisfaction. Tanya and I, we could go on a date, doc, with $100 in our pocket and be happy. Tanya and
yeah.
I can go on a date with $10 in our pocket and we are still happy because for us, money is nothing else than a tool. Money to us is like a hammer to a carpenter. You use it when you need it, but if you don't have it, you make do.
Hmm.
Yes.
But this generation has been taught that, listen, or we put it this way, they're so thingsy. Anything that pops up, I need that, I need that, I need that, we need that. So therefore, there's a strain on the relationship because if we don't have the money to get it, then we start, oh Lord, I'm sorry, prostituting ourselves to get the money. What do I mean by that? We start doing jobs that we don't like just so we can get money to get things. But the more I am away from my house, the more Tanya is away from my house, the less time we spend with each other. Where the aim of the game should be, let's try to spend as much time together as possible. The aim of the game is, let's try to get as much money as possible.
Yes.
And that is sad, and that is why it is a problem in relationship, because they are running after the wrong thing. And money should never be, even though it should never be a thing that leads you to divorce. Um, and if you are not married, I want to encourage those who are listening to us. If you're not married, before you even go into marriage, do like what Tanya and I did. We said to each other, "This is what we have." Tanya still jokes with me even now, dog. She said, "Alvin, I marry you because you had the potential to bring me plenty money." I said, "Well, babe, I hope I still have the potential." She said to me, "But when I get the money, then I can leave." So
Oh
I
wow.
said, "Well, we can get that money."
That money ain't coming.
Yeah, but the thing is, whether whether I have it or not, Tanya is still here. The Because the focus was never on money.
That's right.
The focus, well, I hope the focus was that she saw this nice fella and she fell in love with him. I know for me, I saw this nice gal and I fell in love with her, not things.
That's it.
So this generation now is just too thingsy.
That's a good point because if the wife is not working, women like, I don't know, I like shopping, but I like shopping when I have money. When I don't have money, I look right. But
Yes.
imagine if he is the sole winner in the house and the wife is shopping every week. I could understand a breakdown in relationship
Hmm.
because she's spending more than the money he's making, and that can be a big problem. Or it could be on the other side. She is working hard and he's spending all of the money. But listen, money can really be because even if you have a person in the relationship that is um, firm with saving, and especially if it's the husband, and he said, "Okay, honey, we want to save this amount of money, so we are going to cut back on all of these things." Now, that can be a problem because if her friends are purchasing and she's not buying, she's going to feel like, oh, you're trying to control my life. You don't want to give me what I want. These are the simple things that creates big problems because he has a goal in mind. If we can save up $100,000 for the year, then we can achieve what we want. But she doesn't want to go that route. She wants to spend it first. So these are some of the things that we see can cause breakdown with money. So if persons, can work together, Chaplain, Sweden, if they can work together and the money that comes and they put that, like we had a guest on one time, and they said in their relationship, it's only one pot. So when the money coming from both of them, it goes into one pot, then they pay out the bills and then they decide what happens to the rest. Now, what can happen in some of those relationships is the wife can have a stipend, the husband can have a stipend, but it's only a small amount because you're saving for a big picture. And how difficult can that be in a relationship? if one wants immediate gratification as opposed to delayed gratification. That can be a big problem in a relationship. But how can we get beyond that? How can a couple get beyond that and realize that delayed gratification bring great benefits?
Okay, my point on money. Well, my husband, I asked him one time before. I say, "Honey, we know how to be without. Do we know how to be with?
Uh-huh.
You know, when the um, blessings and the abundance come, do we know how to handle that part? Because now we're talking about um, being without money. You know how we could cope without finances. Now we do very well. You know, with me from 2008, I was not working. I was called by God to just work in His vineyard. So only my husband was the breadwinner for the money, but it was me who always run everything, and he always joke around and say that I work for it, but she's the one that runs it, you know. But we do it together. We do
Very
it
good.
as one, so we know how to be without. But what when we have the great amount, do we know how to make it run? And then again, with me, I believe only thing can really keep that in order is God and following His instruction. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because with us doing it of our own, sometimes we make a mess of things.
Right.
But with God, it is possible.
Wow.
So that's how I feel like, you know, that the communication and right now me and my husband, we celebrate our 29th anniversary next month, you
Awesome.
know.
Congrats.
Yes. So
Congrats.
talking about divorce, you know, I'm telling you, if you have already gotten divorced, don't think that it's doomed. Okay, there is a chance. If there's
Yes.
no other way for you and your husband or your wife to reconcile back to each other, there is chance because I can speak from experience, you know, and I'm not going to say that everything was just a bed of roses with me and my husband now, but it's good. It's very good. And in the first marriage, that was, you know, we were together from school. And when we got married, it did not even last a year. We didn't even celebrate a year's anniversary. But now, me and my husband now, we are celebrating 29 years.
Wow.
So so persons who are married and has been divorced, maybe sometimes the person has been divorced for years and just stacking up with someone else. I just want to encourage you to know that there is hope. But don't go into the same situation that you came out of. Seek God's guidance and make sure that's what God wants for you. Because history could repeat itself if you don't go that way. So I'm I'm looking forward to the abundance that we'll be able to use that for God, building up His kingdom while we're still here on earth. But I pray that we're able.
Oh, wow.
That is powerful. That is powerful. 29 years after a
Yeah.
second marriage. That is powerful. And it
Yeah.
proved that you can start all over. The thing is, she said they was married less than a year. And we don't know, it could have been compatibility difference, you know. So there are some situations, like I started out, that you know, we know what the Bible says. Some people, they make up their mind, we want out, we want out. So maybe they may see that it's not going to work or it's not working. So before I get too far, some people say before the marriage is consummated, they pull out. Um, but there are situations that can be worked out. There are situations that can be worked out. So, you know, when it comes to finances, what is happening now in this generation? Everybody, money is their money. Wife is working. This is my money. I do what I want with my money. But I think to circumvent the money problem, the money issues, put everything in one pot. You have to be able to trust one another, Dr. Alvin. Because if there is no trust, then you are definitely not taking your money to pool it together. But if you married that person, you must have loved them enough, trust them enough to be married. So you have to then go out on the limb now and begin to work as one. Now, some people feel may have problem if one is a spendthrift. Now, whoever is the spendthrift, then obviously that person should not be the one to hold the money back. I think there are ways that we can get around some of these problems and try work it out together. But you know, it's not easy, but it can work. Dr. Alvin, it can work.
And in my counseling, that is the model that I tend to tell my counselees to take, because it works for Tanya and I um, in our marriage. Um, we have a couple bank accounts, but the main bank account is where our bills are paid and all of that type stuff. Tanya signs on to all of my accounts. I sign on to almost all of hers, and that's how we work it. The money goes into the bank account, and Tanya deals with the money. She handles that money, and she handles it very well. So, like the old saying says, if it ain't broke, what you trying to fix it for?
Why
Um,
fix it?
and the thing about it is not that any of us are big spenders. When I buy anything, it is out of necessity. Um, when she buys, it is the same thing. It is out of necessity. Listen, sometimes I have to say to my baby, you work hard, get it. She's like, boy, but I think that's too expensive. I'm going to wait for it to go on sale. I said, baby, you have the money. Go buy it. She said, but I cheap. That going on sale. I don't need that now. I said, okay then, but just know though, if you decide that you want it, go and get it. But that's how
Yeah.
she that money. Case in point, when Tanya and I lived in St. Louis, Missouri, I would come down every month to Nassau to pastor a church. So I transit back and forth between Nassau and St. Louis for about 2 to 3 years. Um, and one time I went through customs and I did not pay with cash. I paid with my card. When I walked out of customs, I picked up the phone to call Tanya to let her know that I had arrived into Nassau safely. She said to me, yes, and you paid customs X amount of dollars. I said, wow, technology.
Yes.
And you know what? I hate paperwork, Doc. I hate paperwork.
Hmm.
Tanya goes and she has a quicking account on her computer. She logs in our information. She has everything linked to our bank accounts and all of that type stuff. Whenever a transaction does, all she got to do is hit a button and quicken updates. And I'm happy that
Yes.
she does that.
Hmm.
So she keeps our money on lock, and and
That's
and
good.
this is what I say to people as I counsel them. If you do it that way, your wife knows how much you make, you know how much she make, and you're making that work. You will rarely have a conversation on who cheating.
Mm,
Be be because if I'm cheating, that means I need money to take the sweetheart out.
that's right.
I ain't taking them out to use my card because the wife can know. So that helps you there. And another conversation Tanya and I don't have to have that causes row because of money is this one. Tanya sees a dress that she wants to buy. Oh, Alvin, give me $100 or give me $1,000. Let me go buy this dress. But babes, you know how much money on the account that you know what I have. I know what you have. You know the account can handle that purchase now. So
Hmm.
why have a conversation and now you rowing me? Oh yes, you have money, hide somewhere. No, doing it this way, putting everything in one pot, limits that argument over money, because everybody know what's there, and when something is moved, we know what was moved, when it was moved, and why it was moved. So there's no question as to why you moved this and you did that. No, we had the conversation. And if people, dog, would model their marriage after that, then we won't have people getting divorced over money.
That's awesome. And that is something that we would need to share with persons. And I pray that those who may be having challenges in their marriage because of money, yeah, sometimes they are already far left by the time the problem starts.
Yes.
But it's a way to get back on track, to align. And it doesn't have to be any argument. Okay, you mess up, he mess up. One doesn't mess up by themselves. It's usually one neglected while one was going beyond. So what have to be done then is that the both parties have to come together and sit down and say, okay, we all at fault. So here's what we will do. And you have to stick with it. You may have lost some money, and person should not be getting divorced for money. Really shouldn't have to be money. Because that, like
No.
you said earlier, that's material. And yes, we know that it can do a lot, but still, your relationship means more than money.
Hmm.
At
Yes.
least it should be. It should be, you know. So we should not allow money. But one thing I look at that really causes conflict, and it's a genuine problem, is when we have an interference by our in laws, parents from both sides. That's a legitimate problem. I mean, the money, we can work it out, we can get together and fix it. But what about when you have an interference from parents from both sides of the marriage? That is not something that is good. One parent is telling when the problem arises in the relationship, okay, there is already a money problem. Now the both parents are involved. Oh, you need to do this. The other parents saying you need to do that. How can this marriage be helped? Because everyone is giving their side of the story. Everyone is telling maybe the son, the daughter, this is how you have to do it. You have to hide your money from him, or you have to do this, or don't give her any money. How can we fix that? That's when we have a bigger problem. When
Yes.
we have the parents involved.
And Doc, this is a conversation I think you and I had some time ago, where we even looked in scripture, in Genesis chapter 2, where it says when God introduced Eve to Adam and he married them, that Adam now says that she is bone of my bone and flesh of my
Yes,
flesh. She
that's
should be
right.
called woman. And then it says this, it makes this statement. For this fault shall a man leave father and mother and cling to his wife, and the two shall be one flesh.
Yes.
And I point out to people that listen, It didn't. It never said that the woman should leave. It says that the man must leave, father and mother.
Mhm.
Why?
That's
Be,
right.
because you need to leave that culture and now form a new culture for your family. Because what worked for your parents may not work for you and your
Yeah,
wife.
that's
So
right.
now when you have left, where and understand that leave does not just mean a physical leave, it means a mental
Right.
and a spiritual leave as well. I have
Hmm.
left mommy and daddy, and the way you did stuff works your way. Now I got to watch this word now, struggle with my wife so we can develop our own culture.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, and I also agreed because with me and my husband and I, we have numerous of bank accounts ourselves, and we all of us is signatures on our bank account,
Good.
so we don't have a problem. And most of the time it's me because I goes out and pay the bills. I go out and shop and do different things for both of us, but we don't have a problem because I remembered um, in 2008 when we went to Turks and Caicos, right? Even before, let me go back, even before we got married, we had joint accounts.
That's right.
But when we got our home and we got our mortgage, both of us, we were on the signature. But only him was working at that time, bringing in a steady paycheck. I was working at the church, and it wasn't much income. But when I think about it, after I went to Turks and Caicos, I said, listen to me. Only thing I did on that account was pay our mortgage. I never even moved a dollar off of that account, say for me. And when I think about that, I say, listen to me, nobody
Wow.
wouldn't do that if they had access to that account. Every cent what was left was that's what he run and do with. But I've never moved not even a dollar off that account until when I fully stopped working and started paying all the bills and doing everything myself, you know. But
Mm.
I thought about that the other day. That never came across my mind to say, listen, I will move any of the money off his account. But talking about families getting involved in financial matters, when we got married, my sister came said to me one day. She said, "Oh, why your husband have to treat you this way?" Because I must say, and I'll brag. I hope he's hearing me. That he treats me like a queen. From I got married, he always treat me nice. And he said, why
That's
he
good.
spoiling you like that? And I say, listen to me. You are my sister and I love you. I love you dearly. But don't interfere with me and my husband's marriage. And not because it was something positive towards me, I said that. Even if it was negative, I would have said that. So you have to make sure, draw the line with your family, and he's same with his family. Draw the line and let them know this is our marriage. Let us work this out. And there will not
That's
be
right.
any interference. But if you don't allow them to come in once or twice, then they'll know I can't do that. You know, that's a
That's good.
barrier. I cannot do
So
that.
in
So I
essence,
would
then
try.
that's good.
Yes.
So the essence is that mom and dad stay out of these people marriages. Let them work it out themselves. Now, as we were speaking, I'm thinking about persons who are gambling. So then you have a problem because one of the
Mm-hmm.
spouses gambling and the other is not. That can be a serious problem. And I know. I am one of those person. Before I gave my life to the Lord, I love buying numbers. And there are a lot of people that buy the lottery. Now, the numbers here is like the a ball. You throw the ball and you make money from it. I never know what it is to gamble buying numbers until I started working at a particular job. And then the lady, she introduced me to it. And listen, um, for me, I started putting money on it. Sometime I went home, I gambled so much. My husband said to me, I will not bring you water if you ever get locked up for gambling. So, right? So what I used to pay all the bills, but when he realized I had a problem, what he did is he started paying his own bills because I was not capable. So we have relationship where there are one spouse or both maybe gambling, and that is a big problem. But I thank God what he did is he made sure he controlled the money, and I gamble out mine, so I couldn't say anything at the end of the day. But that gambling in a relationship can be detrimental to the health of that marriage, and that's where persons may need help because the other person may be compulsive, and compulsive gamblers. uh, I told you I used to really gamble my whole paycheck. I buy number with my entire paycheck. So people, the struggle is real, and I just got into it from watching someone else. But now, when I did it, I used to win. I don't brag about it, but from the day I walk away from it and the Lord changed my life, I've never looked back. People used to call me and ask me, what do you like in terms of what number you want for the day? And I can look at a number and tell you that number will come. But that was a problem. That was a strain in the relationship. So I believe we have persons out there who are dealing and struggling with a spouse that is addicted to gambling. How can we help them? Well, my suggestion from experience is that the one that is not gambling, you need to control the money. Now, you may have a problem where that man may be, if it's a man, he may be one that is controlling. And then when you have a situation like that, then you need to seek help quick, fast, because you will not be able to make any changes because if he comes home and he wants the money, he wants the money. So these are real struggle in relationships. So we need those persons need to seek external help so that he can get help in respect to the gambling. And then in the meantime, that other spouse that is not gambling should control the money. But that's a real struggle, Dr. Alvin, and that's why you will have divorce because people feel then with all of this going on, I am tired. I can't go through this. This man ain't listening. This woman ain't listening. And that's the road that is taken. So, how can you help someone that is dealing with an addictive problem such as gambling in a marriage that is causing everything to just lead right out?
Okay, good.
And that's both
I
of you.
I like I like the example that you gave, Dr. McDonald, how the the addiction that you dealt with had to deal with money. So your husband then realized, okay, there there's a deficiency in my wife in this area. I need to step up my game. That there is a demonstration of love, not just for you, but love for this perfect union we call marriage.
Yeah.
So, for many people, they see that as this is my escape route. Whereas your husband, who loved you, said, okay, my wife is having an issue. I need to step up my game until she could get back on her foot.
Yeah.
That is what marriage is all about. That right
Yeah.
there is a demonstration of marriage. So whether the addiction is gambling, if it's alcoholism, if it's pornography, whatever it is, the next partner needs to step up their game and say, what do I need to do to make sure that the marriage, the union is many of us are coming from a Christian base. So when I say this, you all understand what I mean. My
Yes,
role as the priest in my home is to take my wife and my family to God.
that's right.
I
Yes.
cannot change Tanya, nor will I ever try to change Tanya.
That's
But
right.
as I take Tanya in the presence of God, what needs to be changed, He will reveal it to her, and in
Hmm.
due time, she will change. My role in the situation is to love her through it.
That's right. That's
And
right.
that is what keeps marriages together. When you are
Yes.
formed on a solid foundation and realize what your role and responsibility is. And
Yes,
just like I am I am going to love Tanya through what she's going through, the issues that I'm going through, she's there to love me through it.
that's
Yes.
right.
It is these struggles, it is these people call it crisis, I call it opportunities that
Yes,
the
yes.
Lord give us to help shape our love, to help grow our love, to help
Mm,
nurture us, and to help pull us together. People use these crises to pull them apart. I say use them as opportunities to bind you even closer.
that is so powerful, Dr. Alvin. You know, the struggle come. You know, I heard Socrates, I think it is said that when a man finds a wife and he
Nice.
finds good thing, but he said you're happy. If he find a good wife, he's happy. But if a man finds a wife and he's having problem, he becomes a philosopher. In other words, you gotta learn from what struggle you've went through and make it better. You
Yes.
don't have to always make it bitter and everybody part ways and they're angry with one another. And then earlier in the conversation, Chaplain Sweden mentioned about, or I think it was you, Doc, mentioned that when you see that other person who seem to be happier with another person, you don't feel good. But you don't have to end the relationship over something that can be worked out. What if my husband had said, okay, I cannot stay with her because she's a gambler and she wasting my money. I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here to enjoy life because even
So,
though we ups and down, we still have a beautiful relationship. So it's what we are willing to endure. And like you say, we don't need to be like the Gen Z. We can be committed. We can be committed and make it work. Chaplain Sweeten, maybe you can give your final word.
that that is why platforms like this are so important.
Yes,
To let persons know that although your wife or your husband is going through something, be there for them.
yes,
It's very important that you be there for them and lift them up. If you cherish your marriage, if you want your marriage, go the extra mile and do it. Because we as persons here on this platform, and I think I can speak for everybody, that everything was not always smooth sailing for us. We went through some rough times,
Very smooth
you
sailing.
know. We went through some rough times, but we are here.
Yes. Yeah.
We are here, and this year is many years together. I might as well say 29 years. Dr. Marie, how many years? How many
50
years you were married?
or 40, 43, I think.
43? Okay. Dr. Hepburn.
On Tuesday of this week, we'll make
That's
19
right.
years.
19 years. You see how many years that is together? And so, knowledge like this is very important. for us
Yes,
to tell each other persons, because certain times we cannot reach persons that are watching overseas. But on platform like this, we thank God for it, that they're able to, watch and understand, and also apply it to their lives.
yes.
That's my
Awesome.
wrap up.
Dr. Alvin, what is your final word?
Well, I know we will be talking about this topic for a good while, but I would like to say it'll work if you work it.
Yes.
You cannot be selfish. It cannot be me centered. What have to be the
Mhm.
center is the perfect union, which is marriage. Marriage is a God idea, which is still a good idea, and it can work if you work it.
Yes.
Awesome. So that is good. And
Agree.
I wish to say to our listeners, if there are any questions they may have, please send us your questions and we would be happy to help with whatever you would like to know. And we are sharing from our experience. We are not counselors per se, but we are sharing from our experience. We believe experience is the best teacher. When you would have gone through something, you can now show and help others to get through what they may be
Yeah.
struggling with. So this is Love Bay Afro Music Talk Radio, and we are happy to have you listening with us this afternoon. And this is the end of our program for the afternoon. We have much more to say, but we will stop here and continue next week, Sunday. So we invite you to join us and please share, send us some questions or let us know how we can help. Maybe you want us to talk about a particular topic. Please let us know and we will do just that. Thank you and have a great afternoon.